Welcome to the Ashua podcast, a space for souls ready to explore the unseen world of energy, intuition, and soul remembrance. Here, we dive into everything from starseeds and ascension to the psychic senses, past lives, and soul alignment. This is a podcast by me, Alencia, at ashua.space. Today we are gonna combine two interesting topics within spirituality. We are gonna speak about two universal laws, the law of duality and the law of one. And we are gonna connect that to different levels of consciousness, starting with the third dimensional level of consciousness. So what does it mean to have a third dimensional level of consciousness? When a person has a third dimensional level of consciousness, that is a person living in the hamster wheel, working, eating, sleeping, repeating. But it's really not just about living life in that way physically. It's more so, again, about our consciousness. So it's not really about eating, working, sleeping, and repeating. It's more so about our attitude and how we perceive life as we do it. So rather, this is about how we think and feel. And a person with a three-dimensional consciousness, they trust the news blindly. Continuing to the fourth dimensional consciousness, that is a person starting to questioning everything. Questioning the news, questioning information, questioning the structure of our society. Usually this happens because the way we live is no longer resonating with that person. That person doesn't feel like they are thriving in the structure. They more so see how many people are suffering and that the system, well, it doesn't feel as good no more. It's like they've started to see through the system. And it doesn't have to be the societal structure. It can be other types of systems as well. But usually they were living in a system, and as they enter the fourth dimensional level of consciousness, they start to question that structure. So it could also be someone being religious when they were at the 3D level, and in their 4D level, they question it. So it could be different structures that we start to question. And now, both in the third dimensional and fourth dimensional level of consciousness, one universal law that is really prominent is law of duality. That something is either right or wrong, that something or someone is good or bad. We view the duality, the polarity. And as I say in my courses, we do this because we want to survive. We want to feel safe. So therefore we categorize everything and everyone. We label and put people in boxes so that we will feel more safe. A person in the 3D, they usually just believe what they hear. Could be from the news, could be from an authority, could be from a friend. But a person with a fourth dimensional level of consciousness, or maybe even fourth density level, they base this good and bad perspective, the law of duality, on their own thinking. They do their own research, yet they usually want, without knowing it, they usually want to find a bad guy to blame everything on. Many people blame a system, a certain group of people. Many blame money, People try to find things that they can blame and say, this is bad, this is demonic, this is wrong, so that they will justify how they feel. And now they can be right and they can be wrong about it. But as we spoke about in one of the episodes about Sirius A, what is typical for people with a strong connection to Sirius A is that they lose themselves. They get consumed by their own annoyance and sometimes even hate towards other people and things. So one thing I usually coach people who are stuck in this negative, looking for flaws in everything and everyone spiral, we simply look at the other part of the duality. We look on the bright side. And I usually say that instead of focusing all your energy on that person, could you maybe focus on what you do want instead? What do you wish existed in our society? And build that instead of focusing on what you consider to be bad or evil. So one way to handle that is whenever you find yourself in a negative thinking loop, look at the duality. What can you focus on instead? But you can also take it one step further, starting to work on and with acceptance and detachment. When we start to accept the duality, the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the kind and the evil, when we can see the full picture and detach from it, that is when we reach the 5th level of consciousness, being connected to the law of one. If I were to depict this visually for those of you watching on YouTube, we could draw a circle representing the law of one. This is what I do in the metaphysics series. A circle representing everything. And this circle we can divide into 2. The yin and the yang, the good and the bad, the etc, etc, etc. Both of these laws exist simultaneously. It's more so up to us to decide what lens we want to view our life and our reality through. As I like to say, we don't experience reality as is. We don't experience the physical matter around us. We experience what we think and how we feel. That is what we experience. Yes, we have touch, but overall we filter everything through our thoughts and our feelings. I register that I touch this pillow. And I think the biggest mistake people do today is that they or we blame our surrounding, we blame our circumstances, we blame the physical. But really, how we experience something is to a large degree up to us. We can choose our thoughts, we can choose our feelings, we can choose to leave. We can make different choices. We can create a reality that we like. If you're trying to do so by only focusing on the negative, question if that is really the path you want to walk. See if you instead can focus on what you want to see in our reality instead. And try to detach from what you don't like. Where attention goes, energy flows. So if you don't like it, stop feeding it with your own energy. Go within, focus on yourself and ask yourself, what do you want? And let that be your new guide instead. Thank you for listening to the Ashua podcast. If you liked this episode, I would be very, very grateful and happy if you shared it with a friend. I hope this episode brought you a deeper sense of clarity, connection, and remembrance. And if you want more, you find me at ashua.space and thevibrancyclub.com. Until next time, take care.